now moving on to item 8, staff presentations. Item 8.1 is the Community Benefits Protocol Advisory Committee, HSC 19066A citywide. General Manager Angela Burden and Carl Andros will present the presentation for item 8.2. Please come forward. And for the benefit of the councillors, we have a number of guests in the gallery this morning.
Good morning. I'm Angela Burden, General Manager of Healthy and Safe Communities. Through the chair, we're pleased to provide a presentation on community benefits and Community Benefits Network. Manager Carl Andros is here with me today to provide some education. The discussion on community benefits agreements and bringing together a formal group to discuss community benefits began in 2018. In 2019, Council saw a report that described the formation of a Community Benefits Protocol Subcommittee as a way to begin these formal conversations. At that time, there were questions that came forward on the different components of community benefits frameworks, what they include and how they fit with other work already happening in the city. Today, we have a presentation for you to provide some background on what community benefits agreements and frameworks are and how they were implemented in other cities. You will see from the presentation today that the creation of a community benefits framework does not happen quickly and is really rooted in community conversations. With approval of a terms of reference for a Community Benefits Protocol Subcommittee, we can establish the subcommittee and begin to start some of these important conversations. Today we have Carl Andros, who is the Community Benefits Manager with the Hamilton Community Benefits Network, who will share his expertise on community benefits frameworks with you. And then I will provide some final comments before we move into questions on the staff report following the presentation. Welcome, Carl, and over to you.
Good morning, Carl.
Thank you for inviting me here to talk about the Hamilton Community Benefits Network, the Community Benefits Movement, and Community Benefits Agreements. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Carl Andros, the Community Benefits Manager at the HCBN. The term community benefits gets thrown around a lot and can mean many different things to different people. So I'm here today to hopefully provide some clarity, answer some questions, and provide a little background. Before getting a little more in-depth and technical, I would like to take a bit of time to talk about the history of the community benefits movement. It originated in the late 1990s in urban redevelopment practices in the United States. This urban renewal saw governments and private sector invest back in the downtown cores of cities that were experiencing unemployment and poverty. There was support from local governments as cities and states often granted public subsidies or tax exemptions in order for developers to more easily and quickly help those areas prosper. However, many local community groups resisted this change and demanded more of a voice in how those public investment dollars might shape their communities. They negotiated community supports in exchange for a voice in the change, asking that they were implemented through a more equitable and inclusive process. Community benefits groups began to demand that these projects deliver community benefits beyond the physical infrastructure, often relating to affordable housing, community environmental improvements, and employment opportunities. From those negotiations in the United States, a series of what are called community benefit agreements emerged. So what is a community benefit agreement? This is where Hamilton has a chance through the implementation of this committee for staff, community, and council to define what community benefits can mean for us. There are distinct approaches to community benefits, including community benefit agreements, community benefit clauses, social procurement policies. A community benefit agreement is basically a legal contract typically signed between developers, government, and/or community groups that leverage construction or infrastructure projects to achieve social, economic, or environmental community needs on a project-by-project basis. Community benefit clauses incorporate community benefits in public contracts.
Order. With the greatest of respect, your guests here today, please cooperate with us, okay? I understand. Thank you very much.
commonly through public procurement processes. While community benefit agreements are focused on incorporating community benefits into development and infrastructure projects on a project-by-project basis, community benefit clauses are designed to include community benefit requirements in a more systematic way in public contracts, such as through procurement, and are guided by policy frameworks. In some ways, you as a council are already doing this, like including a percentage of affordable housing requirements in the West Harbour redevelopment. There are social procurement policies which refer to social purchasing efforts by large institutions with a focus on supplier diversity and delivering community benefits through purchasing. For the procurement component of community benefits, the term social procurement is often used interchangeably. It's important to note that although community benefits might contain similar sounding demands, each one is different and requires strong resident engagement and buy-in. They are shaped by the community and can vary from city to city or even project to project. In principle, Metrolinx, HCBN, and the city are investigating what a specific community benefits agreement for the Hamilton Light Rail project might look like. That is a single example. There are many others. I hope to show a few of you today. Just quickly to mention that the community benefits in Ontario started under the previous governments of Kathleen Wynne with the Ontario Infrastructure for Jobs and Prosperity Act, Bill 6. With input from the community and stakeholders like the Toronto Community Benefits Network, they picked 5 pilot projects, including the Hamilton Light Rail project, the Eglinton Crosstown, and the Finch West LRT, in order to apply some of the community benefit frameworks that we're going to hear about today to those projects. So what is the Hamilton Community Benefits Network? It was formed as a community labor coalition back in 2016 and 2017 to take advantage of the opportunities presented by the political climate of the government then and the announcement of Hamilton as a pilot project for community benefits agreements. Some of our core founding groups include the Hamilton Brantford Building Trades, the Hamilton District Labor Council, the Hamilton Centre for Civic Inclusion, the Immigrant Working Centre, the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction, the YWCA Hamilton. We consist of 63 diverse members and partners, including environmental and disability rights groups, neighborhood associations, not-for-profits, workforce development agencies, unions, and much more interested in advocating community benefits agreements as an institution of social change in our city. We're funded by grant dollars from the Hamilton Community Foundation, the Atkinson Foundation, and the United Way of Hamilton Halton. The community benefits term is used as an umbrella for a variety of net positive gains through policy, procedure, bylaws, and other tools. The vast majority of them ask organizations to review how they are spending, usually public funds, and to make sure that those expenditures include the voices of the community, but also provide tangible gains on the spent dollars. The City of Toronto, for example, has 6 community benefits framework initiatives that they're taking place right now. I'll talk a little bit about those in a moment. I wanted to frame the reason why the Community Benefits Protocol Advisory Committee was formed, to give a chance for HCBN to work with City Council and staff on defining community benefits and community benefit policies for the City of Hamilton. There are already policies and initiatives that could be considered community benefits that this council has already undertaken. Other cities have worked with community organizations to set up a more formalized community benefits practice. We hope to do the same with the next term of council. Quickly, I'm just going to go through a few of these. I won't dig into them too much, but the City of Toronto, TCBN, signed a community benefits agreement for the Woodbine Casino that included some hard targets on employment metrics, a child care facility, as well as opportunities for social hiring and social procurement through local businesses, including racialized and women-owned businesses. This is one example of an agreement set up not only to address community concerns around the potential negative impacts of the casino, but bringing the jobs local and acknowledging childcare needs and community access. It was very unique that the hiring criteria for this local hiring included the postal code where the casino was to take place, making sure that the jobs that that casino brought directly employed residents in that area. There was an MOU done. This is an example of a private MOU between a developer, the City of Ottawa, and the Ottawa Community Benefits Network. This had to do with the redevelopment of what was called the Manor Park Estate. Again, I don't want to dig too much into it, but by providing a new secondary plan for the Manor Park area and adding substantial density zoning to that area, an extra 3,872 units, the developer agreed to several terms in order to get that rezoning. One of them was a no displacement policy, policy, that every renter would receive a new unit phased throughout construction at or below their current market rents, that a total of 10% of the net new units would be affordable housing created for 20 years. This MOU would be binding to future sales of the land and tied to the deed of that property, and the developer will work to enter into a formal community benefits agreement with the Ottawa Community Benefits Network around employment targets for the construction of this project, with an eye to hiring disadvantaged groups to gain apprenticeship and employment practices as part of the project. The City of Toronto has a community benefits policy and a social procurement bylaw. The Toronto Community Benefits Network was able to have city staff look at both social procurement bylaw that gave the opportunity for racialized and women-owned businesses to be used for small procurement items that the City of Toronto needed on a daily basis. They also passed a community benefits bylaw that mandated that the city negotiate a separate community-led agreement on large projects the City of Toronto was undertaking. It's important to note that these agreements were not one-size-fits-all, and some of the core principles of CBAs needed to be tailored to each of the community's needs on the project. So I've included in your package here slides 10, 11, and 12. These are examples, again, of the Metrolinx agreement from the Crosstown and Finch West LRT to give you an idea of some of what the City of Hamilton might look to Metrolinx to get from a community benefits deal. I've also included those outcomes in the slides in your package for you that talk about some of the successes to date in terms of local procurement, in terms of apprenticeship and professional administrative and technical placements. I've also included in your information package, and I won't dive in too much, information on the Windsor-Essex Community Benefits Coalition Agreement, on the development of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, and some of the outcomes that were agreed to in that community benefits agreement, just so that you have that for your information. Which brings me to the point of why I'm here today. The Community Benefits Protocol Advisory Committee was ratified unanimously back in June 27th, 2018, during the last term of Council. It established the Community Benefits Protocol Advisory Committee, and on December 4th, 2019, a staff report, HSC 19066, was brought back before the GIC. At that time, there was some confusion among newly elected members of Council and others around the purpose of this subcommittee, and the terms of reference were deferred to a later date. There was also an additional question from Council around the connection between social procurement and community benefit agreements. While City Council set up the committee to explore how community benefits might work in collaboration with the HCBN, a separate but complementary pilot was undertaken on social procurement, one of the frequently seen community benefits agreed to in community benefit agreements. Social procurement practices and policies are a form of community benefits that are negotiated as part of a suite of community benefit initiatives. The HCBN consulted with city staff and an outside consultant around this social procurement pilot. Then in 2019, procurement and city staff departments undertook 9 RFPs as pilots, including additional evaluative criteria in that RFP to encourage vendors to submit social value within the proposals. City staff in your report can speak to this undertaking better, but the idea was to see what changes could be made without adding significant costs to the city to help employment outcomes. Using city procurement as an employment tool for groups who face challenges in the workplace. Unfortunately, like the Community Benefits Committee, that work was interrupted by the pandemic and other priorities. Just to give you an idea of the timeline of what Toronto went through in terms of passing its community benefits framework, here's the timeline as it existed from Toronto. You can see the path Toronto took to its various community benefit agreements and policies. We are at the very beginning of working out as a city how to implement community agreements and policies. It's a collaborative process which doesn't happen overnight. Like Toronto in 2015, we are beginning to use community benefits for the Hamilton Light Rail project. That project is Metrolinx-led and considered to be a separate initiative than this committee. HCBN will work with city staff and the LRT subcommittee on shaping the Hamilton LRT community benefits agreement. But this committee will be an opportunity for the next term of council to shape how to use community benefits agreements as an additional tool for social betterment of the residents of Hamilton on future projects and procurements. So with staff unable, due to the requirements of the pandemic and other challenges, to complete the social procurement undertaking, the Community Benefits Committee continues to be pushed forward on the outstanding business list. So I'm here to ask you to accept the terms of reference and staff report so that the committee might begin this important work with staff and council to present and consult on community benefits and social procurement and figure out what that might look like for us in Hamilton. With me today, as per this council's request, is also Anthony Marco from the Hamilton District Labour Council and Mark Elliger from the Hamilton Brantford Building Trades. And I'm happy, along with staff, to take any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Andros. General Manager Burden, would you like to wrap up, please?
Thank you, Carl. I would like to thank Carl for all his work in helping to educate us today. We've had some discussions with our senior team where Carl's come to present and answer questions. I think it is important, Carl mentioned, to acknowledge that today we're not asking for any commitment other than to begin the conversations and the dialogue about how community benefits could be applied in a framework within the city. And in the staff report, it also talks about things like community benefits charges, as well as community benefits along the LRT, which are separate and apart from the discussion today around establishing the subcommittee through the approval of the terms of reference. And we're happy to take any questions either through Carl on community benefits themselves or through myself or our team as it relates to the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you both for that very comprehensive report. We have 3 speakers who would like to ask questions: Councillor Nan, Ferguson, and Mayor Eisenberger. Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you, and good morning to GM Burden as well as Carl Anderson. Thank you so much for the thorough presentation and the report. I really do appreciate.
Councillor Nan, could you just hold for a second? Can we take down that presentation so I can actually see the? It's hard to chair a meeting if I can't see the people in the meeting. Thank you. That's much better. Councillor Nan, I'm going to start your 5 minutes over again, please. Please
no
proceed.
worries. Yep. And so, yeah, appreciating the thoroughness and the opportunity for not just staff, but also this committee to better understand the value of community benefits agreements and how they've evolved from being project-specific frameworks to being frameworks that municipalities apply in multiple settings and in multiple opportunities. I heard that they can be applied to not only major infrastructure projects, but also development projects where the municipality has an interest to work with a private developer to deliver much needed community outcomes and, most importantly, population outcomes that change the trajectory of health and well-being for residents. So thank you for that. Couple of questions, if I could, through you, Deputy Mayor. One is the reference to the social procurement pilot. To staff, what is the status of our social procurement policy? Has it gone beyond the pilot? And are we in a similar scenario as the City of Toronto where we have a social procurement bylaw?
Thank you, Councillor. General Manager Burden, you can refer this to anyone you wish.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'd like to refer this to General Manager Zagaric, or Tina may be on the line as well.
Mr. Zagaric.
Through the chair, I'm just going to inquire if Tina Ikoa, our manager procurement, is online, and while we are waiting to see if Tina is online to the councillor's question, we do not have a social procurement policy similar to the City of Toronto. While we did pilot in 2019 a series of social procurement projects in coordination with some of the program areas, because of the pandemic and because of workload issues tied to the pandemic and some turnover in procurement, we were not able to advance the social procurement work beyond the 9 pilots in 2019. So to the councillor's question, we are absent a bylaw. It is on our work plan, but again, because of competing demands, we haven't made progress on the bylaw, social procurement bylaw, and we are looking towards working with some of the program areas with additional opportunities surrounding social procurement in 2023.
Thank you, General Manager. Really appreciate that. Thank you. In terms of the reference to the terms of reference being updated, General Manager Burden, you mentioned that the first step could be approval of the terms of reference, and that would then enable the next term of council to begin having the subcommittee meet. Did I get that right? In terms of proposed next steps?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay. And through you, Deputy Mayor, do we have those updated terms of reference as part of this report? or were they previously approved, or are they to come? Thank you.
Through the chair, they should be in the package. I'll ask Manager Jen Hohal to provide further clarification on the terms of reference themselves.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jen Hohal, manager in the General Manager's Office. Councillor Nan, what you will see in your package is the previous terms of reference that were brought forward in 2019. So we will modify the terms of reference as per the direction that was provided in 2019 and as per the additional change that is mentioned in the staff report in terms of the Healthy and Safe Community staff that will support the committee moving forward.
Thank you, Manager. I appreciate that. For me on WebEx, all I see is the overarching report and the slide deck for the presentation under item 8.1 on the agenda. I don't have a link for the appendix, and that's okay. And the last question I have, Manager, then staff already have direction to be updating the terms of reference. You're not seeking further direction today.
Through the chair, correct. We received the direction to update that in 2019.
Thank you. Those are my questions for now.
Thank you, Councillor. The next speaker is Councillor Ferguson, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Is Tina on the line with us today? If she is, can she turn her camera on?
She is present now, Councillor.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So, Tina, we've done some pilots by listening to Mike Zagaric on social procurement. It's been suggested, and I like Councillor Nan, have not got the appendices that was referenced by the general manager or by the presenter. But do we find that by having to put will we find by having to put every project that we procured on through this new committee, are you concerned that'll slow down our procurement process?
Tina, please.
Through the chair, if there is a process in which all of our procurements need to get vetted prior to with the committee, yes, that will certainly slow things down. If I can just make a point of clarification, I believe the terms of reference are in the report that was brought forward last year, which is an appendix to this report, I believe. Or there's another link below the main link in the agenda. So if anybody was looking.
I'm looking online right now, and the report that it just gives her the 8.1 gives us the presentation that was presented today, and then the recommendation of it. But it's only let me just flip to the bottom. It's 5 pages long, so it doesn't have that I can see any terms of reference on. I think Councillor Nam made reference to the same thing. So
I believe, Councillor, 8.1A. There's an A link in the agenda. I believe that is the original report with the terms of reference, because I mistakenly clicked on that one last week and I got a little confused. So I believe it's in that A.
As always, you're right. Stated December the 4th.
Oh, great.
Report under A. So I apologize for that, Tina. My second question is, and probably this goes to either Tina or the GM. Do we expect to set quotas on contractors, the number of marginalized people that they hire, and the number of local individuals that they hire? Is that part of the plan?
General Manager Burden, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to the councillor. I think it's important to remember that what's before the committee today is the approval of the terms of reference, which will enable us to start the meetings of the subcommittee to develop a framework. Social procurement and details around social procurement might be one tool that comes forward as a result of those conversations. But there's nothing in the content that will change or is proposed to change or have impact on our social procurement today or any other practice within the city right now. It's really to start those conversations to explore what other communities have done and what might make sense for Hamilton, and anything that is recommended to be part of that framework, including social procurement, would come back before committee and council for discussion and deliberation.
Councillor
You
Ferguson.
haven't locked down then, listening to your answer, any quotas for hiring marginalized individuals or local individuals? Because I read through, for example, Toronto, I see they're getting 40% of the employees that contractors hire for project are local. So we haven't set any threshold like that yet. That's what I heard.
General Manager Burden.
Through the chair, that is correct. And I would say that we have examples. We've presented examples of what other municipalities have found appropriate and what works for them. But it's premature to have those discussions in terms of the community benefits framework that might be applied within Hamilton, and would definitely be a subject of further conversation at a later date.
Councillor.
Okay, and then just for information to you, General Manager, construction unions do the hiring for the contractors. The contractors must hire through the union hall. So the unions would have to be engaged in this also. And I see you have Leona and others that are involved in the process, but with their hiring halls, I mean, a contractor can recall his regular employees, but if he needs another cement finisher or pipe layer or laborer, form setter, he has to request it through the union hall. He can't direct hire without their permission. And normally that permission will not be easily granted. So I put that to you just as a help to you in setting guidelines about the types of people we hire. They have to certainly be members of Local 837 or 793 or 18, any of those construction unions as a first part. But then the contractor doesn't have the ability most of the time to hire the individuals that they want. They have to come through the hiring hall. So that's just there for information. And also, I just want to make sure that we're not, I mean, there's been a lot of concern this year about the slowness of getting projects out to tender. And I just hope something you put together doesn't constipate the process even worse. So I put that out as for information also, because all you're looking is to get approval on the terms of reference today. But just a cautionary note on the construction side and quotas that you may set. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The next speaker is Mayor Eisenberger, please, sir. My apologies, sir.
Thank you. And I heard a line that I want to kind of use in the future, which is constipate the process. I haven't heard that for a while, but it's a good one. Thank you for that. You know, and I guess I'm very supportive of the direction in terms of, maximizing community benefits through projects. I guess not unlike Councillor Ferguson, I would be cautious about managing expectations through this process. And there are a numbers of things that kind of enter into this that make it complicating. And so presumptively, we all want maximum community benefit. We all want to lift our citizens. We all want to bring people from poverty and homelessness into productivity. That's a motherhood statement for sure, and I think that's something that we all want to do. We want to maximize the ability to, if it's steel-related products, that we maximize the opportunity to get local steel. If it's paint products, maximize the opportunity to get local procurement on things that are available. But at some level, it could start to feel like we're being protectionist, and our procurement system is set up to be open to quality pricing and not excluding other communities, and vice versa when it comes to providing benefit to our community or other communities. So our local contractors are also bidding on projects in other communities in other places. And so, the expectation might be from some that we circle the wagons and trying to keep everything contained within Hamilton to the best degree possible. That I'm not sure is the right direction to go. So in that light, and maybe through you, Mr. Chair, to Angela Burden or to Carl, if they want to address that, because there's an element of that in this that we need to be cautious about. And again, I'm fully supportive. I want maximum benefit for any project for citizens of Hamilton, whether it's utility or production or products, placement, all of that. We all want to go there, but we also want to ensure that companies and industries that are working here are able to do procurement in other places as well, because it's fundamentally part of their business plan. So in that light, what cautions are you putting in place, or are you thinking about, that would prevent that kind of protectionism to start to take hold, which could become an element if we go too far down this road?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Andros, you'd like to respond?
Yeah, respectfully, through the chair, I'm happy to respond to that. So we have an opportunity through the example of many other communities, whether it's Vancouver, Toronto, Windsor, Essex, to kind of analyze what they've done and what practices they've put into place, what the impacts of those practices have been, and then for us to kind of come to our own suggestion working with staff. As I tried to mention throughout this process, it took Toronto almost 7 years to develop its community benefits bylaw. It was not an overnight process. It involved heavy negotiation and involvement of the Toronto Community Benefits, the major construction unions. Just to mention as well, Mark Elliger from the Hamilton Brantford Building Trades is delegating later and is here with me today. So this is a collaborative process, but it's a long process, and it's not intended to muck up the works, as it were, overnight. It's something that you work with staff to find out what's reasonable for the city, what won't add too much to the bottom line in terms of our procurement costs, but also might make us a little bit more competitive. Like I said, this is something the City of Toronto is actively pursuing. The City of Mississauga is now looking at incorporating some community benefits. They're popping up, community benefits groups and community benefits frameworks are popping up across the country. The entire province of Vancouver uses a community benefits, and they have a Crown corporation that incorporates community benefits through all of the procurement for the province of BC. So it's not the intention to, especially today, to finish this conversation, but rather to open the door to start the conversation. I really want to make that clear. There's tons of staff reports, community outreach, conversations, and as I said, it took Toronto almost 7 years to get a community benefits framework bylaw passed in their city.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, and that's exactly the point. I think Carl hit the nail on the head. It's managing expectations in terms of what we're able to achieve and when. This is a complicated process that involves many people, and I think there's a good understanding of that. And I do appreciate the delegates that are coming forward, Anthony Marco and Mark Elliker, who's obviously representing the building trades, that obviously would have a role to play in ensuring local content, but also the ability to procure and here and other places as well. So I really appreciate the answer. I think I just want to be cautious about managing expectations in terms of when this can be kind of ironed out, for what areas, what categories. It's got to be a thorough, thoughtful process. But the end game is, and I agree with it. I think Carl does, and I think Angie does as well, as do most councillors. I think agree that we all want to maximize kind of local benefit to the best degree possible to lift our citizens and our businesses in the best way possible. So we really appreciate the effort, and it'll be an interesting journey, and I know it'll be beneficial and fruitful going forward, and I look forward to hearing about the ongoing dialogue that's going to happen with all of those in our community that are going to have an interest in this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You are our last speaker. I want to thank Mr. Andros and General Manager Burden for a very comprehensive presentation. Oh, sorry, Councillor Nan, I didn't see you there.
That's okay. I indicated for a second time on WebEx. Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. And before our presenters leave, just wanted to ask one more question. So the framing of caution versus opportunity, and it doesn't have to be adversarial, right? There's issues that we'll have to pay really close, diligent attention to as a municipality in order to maximize the benefits that are available through these frameworks. I wanted to share one of the principles that was discussed through a previous community benefits network in another city, and that principle was that residents of the local neighborhood wouldn't end up being displaced economically as a result of one of the larger redevelopment projects. And so that principle being agreed to in a memorandum of understanding then led the municipality to work in tandem with building trades and local training opportunities. So either training programs that are run by building trades or training programs that were run by the local community colleges in order to give the local residents an opportunity to participate in workforce development and get the skills in a time frame that would enable them to be hired by those companies that were procured into those projects. So, to just reiterate the points that have been made by some of the presenters here, it does take a long lead time to implement really successful community benefit programs. And it takes diligence and it takes really great partnerships in order to make that happen. And I think that's the possibility that so many of us want to see happen. And I think it's a demonstration and possibility for ongoing excellence for our municipality. Final question to you, Deputy Mayor, just procedurally. Do we need to move the terms of reference at this GIC in order to enable the next steps to proceed? I heard both things come forward in previous responses.
That would be later in the meeting, not right now. At the moment, we're dealing with the presentation, and so we will move receipt of the presentation only at this time.
Got it. Happy to do so at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Once again, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank General Manager Burden and Mr. Andrews. Very comprehensive presentation and much appreciated by all, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a mover to move receipt of the presentation. The seconder is Councillor Powers. So it's Councillor Nan and Councillor Powers, Madam Clerk. And I'll call for the vote. The vote is up, councillors. Councillor Johnson is indicating a thumbs up. Yep. Councillor Powers, I think you're indicating a thumbs up. It was very low on the screen there. That's better. Who else are you? And that vote carried 12-0. Thank you, councillors, very much. We are moving forward on the agenda to delegations. Item 9 is delegations. Member of the committee, in the interest of time, we will take one vote to receive all of the delegations following the last delegate. The first delegate this morning is Anthony Marco, Hamilton Community Benefit Network, respecting items 8.1 and 8.1A. Reports HSC 19066 and HSC 19066A, Community Benefits Protocol Advisory Committee. I'd like to call upon Mr. Marco of the Hamilton Community Benefits Network to speak to these items. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Unlike previous delegations, I will not be running the clock today. I am really just here because my name was mentioned as part of the original discussion, and I was one of the initial members of the subcommittee that was set up. All I'm here to do today is to say that after having been the previous chair of the HCBN, the Community Benefits Network, for 2 to 3 years, I am no longer in that position, and we are happy to have passed off much of the responsibilities to Carl and his team, and we fully support their efforts, not only through myself personally, but through the Labour Council, and I would encourage this council to move as efficiently as possible towards getting us to a place in the next term where we can start to implement community benefits agreements. I'm happy to take any questions about some of the process that has led us here if necessary, but other than that, I'm here to say to encourage your support for the HCBN, for the process, and to ensure that it can run through as smoothly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marco. Before you go, are there any questions of Mr. Marco from the councillors? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for appearing here this morning. Item 9.2 on our agenda is Mark Elliker, Hamilton Community Benefits Network. I'd like to call upon Mr. Elliker to come forward to speak to items 8.1 and 8.1A.
Deputy Mayor.
Good morning, sir. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
So good morning, Deputy Mayor and councillors. We, Hamilton Brantford Building Trades, would just stand in support of the report, and we understand there is a lot of work to be done, but we look forward to coming to the table and the broadest umbrella possible, getting the community, getting the municipality and businesses to the table to discuss a protocol that could benefit people, I think, long term. So I'm just here to stand in support, and if there's any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Elliker? Councillor Farr?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and hello to you, Mark, and congratulations. I know you've been a strong advocate with your team up on the East Mountain when you regularly meet on community benefits. I think it's on most of your agendas. I got a quick question. Perfectly, obviously, supportive of what's before us here today, and as you know, along with Councillor Green, we were sort of the originators back in 2018, and it was all based on guidance by people like you and Anthony Marco. But notice since, and I've kind of been an unofficial member of the board for a local group, Trades in the Hammer, that you know of. I think Leuna does some stuff. I know they do the scholarships, but I'm talking about training and training vulnerable youth in trades and how beneficial it is. I know your organization's quite involved, and of course with community benefits as the highlight there. And then even the Central Ontario Building Trades, Mark, have their Hammerheads program. My question is for you, Chair. How do what we're doing now to that end? How does that all tie in? And specifically, locally, I know the Trades in the Hammer. I'm wondering where that's at. It's been a while, actually.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Elliker, please.
So yeah, the protocol, and to put this just simply, to get everybody at the table and discuss actions that a lot of good organizations, Leuna, Carpenters, all kinds of organizations, you reference Hammerheads, there's Tomorrow's Trades, there's all kinds of organizations, including the great work that Mohawk College does. So there's all kinds of organizations that are working very hard to try to do pathways, and this opportunity with a protocol would bring everybody to the table and give an opportunity for, I think, overall the municipality and the councillors, and I think the community, to understand the power that can be utilized if everybody's pulling in the same direction. So once we look at putting together a committee, the next step would be get everybody into the room, start having some conversations about what is working best, and what works in Windsor may not work here, but what works in Toronto may, or what works in Ottawa may be a benefit here. So there's opportunities to get people into the pathways, get people into the trades, and there's always an initiative to get people in the trades, but I think if we can align all of the resources in the community with all of the champions that are out there every day doing this, I think it's a benefit, and I don't see it being a detriment as long as everybody at the table respects where they're coming from and respects that ultimately we're here trying to lift everybody up.
Thank you, sir. Councillor?
Yeah, and ultimately, I guess, Mark, it would be beneficial as a community benefits protocol to sort of have that entity that's official, that's through the municipality. And so for all of these organizations that do, will be increasingly get together and making all these right moves, just as it relates to, trades training, which is so crucial in getting out there and finding individuals and giving them great jobs, union wages and benefits and all of those good things that go with that specialized trade, which we all know we need so much. But this agreement locally would essentially then, through you, Chair, be a gateway to organize things, I would assume.
Mr. Elliker, please.
So with the protocol, and once the committee, if they can formally set some goals, and when it takes a look at if it's pathways, it might be setting thresholds. It might just be simply taking best practices. So it may not be setting a hard number. It could be a simple example that if we know there's opportunity for people to get into the trades, we can align them and bring them in forward. And having all of the unions, all the construction trades, having even the contractors association conversations, having community people around the table. It's not necessarily just going to be a conversation about pathways. It could be a conversation here in Hamilton about affordable housing. There's all kinds of things that can be at the table and discussed under a community benefit lens, which Carl and the city staff have put a substantial amount of work into that report. I don't have a crystal ball to kind of forecast what next round of discussions and stuff would look like until the committee's kind of put in place. But what I would say is, if we're looking at trying to build the benefits for the bigger picture, the further we can get upstream before these projects take place and before actions are taken, I think it can benefit everybody. I don't know if I answered your question there very well, Jason, but I tried.
No, I appreciate it. You even reiterated the strong selling points from your first answer and from the presentation. I'm hyper-focused right now on the jobs for the youth, the vulnerable youth particularly, and I already know you're doing a terrific job with that, and I know, as you're rightly pointing out, it's only one element for certain. So anyway, thanks. It's been a pleasure working with you on this file, and it'll be nice to see it move along in a formalized fashion. It has been some time. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Councillor Farr.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. Any further questions for Mr. Elliker? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for your time here this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you to the council. It's a privilege.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving. I need a mover and a seconder to receive the delegations. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Vanderbeek. And I'll call the vote. The vote is up.
Councillor Powers, your thumbs up? Yes, I see your thumb. Thank you.
And that carried 13-0. Thank you, councillors. So we're moving on to item 8. Item 8.1 is the Community Benefits Protocol Advisory Committee, HSC 19066A, citywide. May I have a mover and a seconder to put the report, item 8.1, on the floor? Moved by Councillor Nan, seconded by Councillor Farr. Any questions on the report? And if you don't mind, I need one clarification. So the terms of reference was revised and it was not included in the report. So can we have that revised terms of reference forwarded to the council meeting for approval?
So if we, Mr. Chair, sorry, Tamara Bates from Clerks. I think what the best thing to do and the cleanest thing to do right now is to receive report 8.1. You can certainly receive report 8.1, which is an information item, and then receive report 8.1A, which is a recommendation item, which contains the old terms of reference. We have the new terms of reference here, which we can share on the screen. And if someone can move a motion to approve the new terms of reference, that would take care of everything.
Can I ask how many pages are the terms of reference?
I believe it's just one page.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
And sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the changes are very slight. It's a very small change.
Okay, so may I have a mover and a seconder to receive report 8.1? Moved by Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Do I have any questions from councillors on the report? Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair Clark. Just been considering this. There's absolutely no pecuniary issue, but I am just going to, for public consumption, declare a non-disqualifying as my spouse's organization is part of the funding for the network. Thank you.
Thank you. We will note that. Any further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, we'll call the vote on the receiving of the report 8.1. We've been having challenges with technology this morning, so please be patient.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, give me 1 second and I will have that vote up.
No problem. Councillor Jackson, you're not wearing your Hawaiian shirt this morning.
Deputy Mayor Clark, if you do a retro thing, if you remember the Good Humor truck, I've got a Good Humor shirt on. Thank you.
No way. That's very cool. Thank you. Councillor Pauls, did you vote?
And Councillor Johnson, oh, that's everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. That vote carried 13.1.